This is Gayle with BERNINA of Naperville, and welcome to Lesson 2 of our Bloom and Grow Serge-A-Long. Now, last month, or in Lesson 1, you saw me kind of take you through how this whole program works. So basically, if you want to recap, just go back and watch Bloom and Grow Lesson 1 on our BERNINA of Naperville YouTube channel, and I'll explain it all for you. But this month, this Lesson 2, we are going to be quilting what we made last month. And last month we did the string pieced blocks and we did partial. And that's because we have sectioned off our Bloom and Grow quilt into 3 sections, 1, 2, and 3. And each section has a different backing and batting. Now you can use the same backing for the whole thing, but you're going to cut the backings into 3 different sizes. So this month, it's the section that is the top left, and that includes at the very top our partial string pieced block that we made last month. Now we had a few pieces on reserve for another time. You're going to keep those in your basket and hold on to those. Now another thing is today you're not going to need to reference the BERNINA Skill Hub Bloom and Grow lessons because what I'm showing you is pretty much just a quilting lesson. You can apply what I'm showing you today to the quilt if you decide to not do it Quilt-As-You-Go and just do the whole thing after you piece all of your blocks. You are in the control of your own creativity here, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So another thing that we're going to do today is ruler working, and ruler working with straight line only, okay? We don't need to get fancy yet with our curvy templates because if some of you have never even done any kind of ruler work quilting, I think that the best way to get started is with straight lines. So we're gonna practice a little stitch in the ditch, stitch next to a line, and simply just traveling from one block to the next using the Amanda Murphy Every Measure ruler. Finally, we're gonna switch to free motion and we're going to do what I would call like a meander, large or medium size squiggle. And in order to do that, we're going to practice first. So right now would be a good time for you to grab a scrap piece of paper, like a big, printer paper page of paper and a pencil or whatever kind of implement you want to write with and practice your little wormy drawing. Now, I know that this might seem a little silly if we're drawing it out, but we have to do it with our machine needle, but it kind of trains your brain to follow along in a little shape like that. So it's important, and you can just do that until you get bored, or you can do it until you feel like, hey, I think I can take this over to a quilt sandwich. Which reminds me, it's always a good idea to have some extra batting, backing, and topping pieces laying around to practice free motion. Because you know what? I'm experienced with this. I could head right over to my real project, but you might need to practice first. All right, so let's break down our instructions and get over to our Q16. Once again, here is your interactive PDF that you're going to get from me in email form if you've signed up for the program. So yes, this video is free. You're seeing it and you don't know Bloom and Grow from a hole in the wall, right? But this is our monthly Serge-A-Long where we're going to make the Bloom and Grow quilt that Amanda Murphy designed for BERNINA. And this quilt, this kit, and all of these things come with the new BERNINA limited edition L890 Quilters Edition Serger. However, you can also buy the quilt kit separately with all the goodies, the thread, the fusible thread, the fabric, and the instructions. The Skill Hub courses that are separate from this video. The BERNINA Skill Hub is another education site that BERNINA has that is where all of their direct-to-consumer online lessons live. And then, of course, we have our BERNINA of Naperville website where you're going to purchase the Bloom and Grow kit if you would like. Now, we are on a wait list. It takes about 4 to 8 weeks to get these quilt kits to you, but please, everybody relax. We will make sure that you learn how to make this quilt. So with Lesson 2, we are quilting the string pieced blocks that we created last month.
And the way that we're going to do this, if you see that I talked about the different sections that we're going to be quilting, and I've labeled them there to your left. So basically what you're going to do for this month is you're going to take your backing and you're going to cut it into one 36 by 63 inch piece for section 1, and you're going to cut the same size of the batting. Now, the backing that I used is also an Amanda Murphy fabric, but it's not in the Bloom and Grow line and it's not in the kit. So that's going to be something that you need separate. And I do have those cutting instructions for you in the first lesson. So make sure that you revisit that if you haven't looked at lesson 1's instructions. Now, after you get everything cut, you're going to need to baste. And basically, press the batting, press that backing so it is wrinkle free, and it'll ensure that you don't get any lumps under your quilt and things like that. And I also have a video on making a quilt start to finish, and I'll have that link in this presentation deck for you. But that might help you with basting if you've never done anything like this before. It may even help you with the prep for what is necessary when you're doing a large quilt. So what I did here is, instead of like typically what you might see is putting the backing fabric wrong side up and then putting your batting on top of that. In this case, I laid out my batting first, and I laid my batting wrong side up. And you're like, how can I tell if my batting is right side up or wrong side up? Well, batting does have a right side and a wrong side. Usually the really fuzzy part of the batting is the wrong side, and the right side is the part of the batting where it looks like the little felting needle holes have been created. So we want to put the batting wrong side up. Then we want to spray that with 505 spray, and then we want to place our teal backing fabric wrong side down onto that piece. Then I'm going to take this piece and turn it right side up. And then now I can place my work, my string piece units, into position. And I like to make sure that I'm doing that at least 2 inches from the backing fabric edge on the top and to the left side. And you're going to spray under the string piece unit with the 505 to adhere this into position. And once that's done, hey, we're ready to go over to our Q16.
So as we're going to quilt our piece that we have placed, you saw how carefully we did that on our tabletop. These are the supplies that we're going to use for this lesson. So this is the Cerakote thread that came with your L890, your L890 Quilters edition. Even the L850 and the L860 came with this size spool. Normally serger thread, yes, but it is also suitable for quilting, and it kind of matches and blends in with our quilt here. So I'm going to be taking this and winding a couple bobbins for this. Today I'm working on my Q16 Plus sit-down version. And some other supplies that I want to use is my 72 ruler work foot S. Now the S means it has this slit. And what that means that's really helpful is if I'm using like open toe free motion foot like this, and then I want to switch to ruler work, I can do so without stopping and cutting my thread because I can just fit it through that little slit like that. I'm also going to need a ruler, and nowadays I think they're calling these templates, but I'm still calling them rulers. But this is the every angle ruler from Amanda Murphy, and it's every angle because there's 15 degrees, 22 and a half, 30, 45, all of those good things. And, you know, the Amanda Murphy rulers are great because she actually has YouTube videos on how to use each one of her individual rulers. We're going to be using some other rulers during the course of the sew-along, but today this is the one that we're going to be using. Another thing that you might need is some sort of way to hold on to your ruler working, and these are machingers.
These are just nylon gloves. I don't like these as well because they don't fit tightly on my hand. So I like to use the Reggie's gloves. So the Reggie's gloves are not full gloves. They're for your thumb, your index, and your middle finger. And they've got these little grippy bits on the full hand. And these are also nice because I can keep 2 fingers to touch the screen of my machine and all of that. Sometimes if I'm using a small project, quite frankly, I don't use any gloves at all. But if you're having a hard time getting a grip, these are definitely useful. Now, another thing you might find handy are clamps that go on your sewing table or your quilting table that will hold the quilt up so there's less drag on it. These are made by Sew Steady, and we sell them in pairs. I'm using just 2 of them or 1 pair for today's project. So when you're doing ruler work, you got to think of the needle to the side of the foot like this being 1/4 inch. And then the every measure ruler has other 1/4 inch or other markings. So this is 1/4 inch to the edge. So 1/4 and 1/4 is 1/2. So if I line something up with this dotted line on my seam, I'm going to be 1/2 inch away from the edge. This is 3/4 inch, so that will give us 1 inch and so forth. Pretty easy. So you can also use the ruler as just a general guide. So for instance, if I want to do some stitching in the ditch along here like this, I'm going to line up my ruler kind of gauging 1/4 inch away from the edge of the foot here. So you can see here's my seam and here is my ruler. So just like any other kind of free motion work, we're going to use our heel tap of our foot control, put our needle down, bring our needle up so I can pull my bottom thread up to the top like that. So if I line up, now if I put my needle in the down position, and now line up my ruler, kind of eyeballing it there, this 1/4 inch, I'm going to easily just stitch. And I like to do ruler working with my needle landing in the down position. And then you stop completely, remove your ruler, slide it back into position, get your hands in the right position again so that you can move without any wiggles or slippage. So now I've ended right in that intersection, and that looks nice and perfect. We'll look at it in a little bit later. And now I can decide from where do I want to do the rest of my stitching. So naturally, it looks like I've landed right here, and the benefit of doing ruler working with this foot is that I can go in all the different directions. This ruler will fit 360 degrees around my foot. So I haven't had to do any pivoting or anything like that. So now I'm going to line this up in the same manner as you saw me do it before. And then that was not perfect, right? I was trying not to bump the camera when I did that, but it doesn't matter because I'm just adding texture and I'm trying to put these things together. So this one is a great one to practice your ruler working because it doesn't have to be perfect. So now I'm going to scoot down here. And you might also discover if you are a sideways person or a back and forth person and which way you like to lead with. You know, it's like dancing. I'm really good at doing moves that involve the right side of my body, but not so much other parts. So now I'm going to head back down this way, lining my ruler here, or maybe you like putting the ruler behind here so that we can see exactly where that needle's going. Okay, so I'm right to that corner. And I'm going to reposition my hands. Notice that I came to a complete stop to do so. There we go. And now I'm going to cut right down this way. Just take a couple little stitches in there. Just like that. And I don't know if I got in your way there, but we have a lot of lines to do. So you can kind of see how we're doing things. I'm going to flatten my piece here like this so I can bounce over here. Now this might not be exactly stitching in the ditch, but it's allowing me to hold down my little seam here and stitch right next to this embellished piece here. And that looks great. And that's going to help keep that down so it doesn't get stuck on something. So now I'm going to scoot down here and stitch in the ditch right here. And if you would prefer, if I put this over here so you can see where the needle's going. There we go. And now let's do the same thing that we did on the other side there. We're going to stitch right through this little line right there. There we go. Looking good. Scoot this way and stitch right in the ditch down this way. And it's always best to try to stitch when you've got, like my seam allowances right here, it's always best to try to stitch on the piece that does not have a big thick seam. Otherwise, it may look like top stitching and not stitching, ditch stitching. And then let's scoot over here. And now we've got some more ditch stitching here. And now if you wanted, you could even stitch. This isn't any ditch. There's nothing there, but if you wanted to just take a stitch down the middle of one of these fabrics, that's fine too. Because we're just practicing our straight lines. Ta-da! And sometimes you might want to take a little journey as a shortcut because I've done everything from here down. So I'm going to travel right along this ditch to get back to that center. Ta-da! And so now I've got a little bit of this and around here to do. Okay, so I am almost done with my ruler working. So what I'm going to do is scoot up this way, and I'm just going to do a little stitch down the middle of this black piece like this, because I want to get right here so I can start my large stipple or meander stitching.
So this is one of those situations where I want to just simply lift my needle out of my work, remove my foot, and now that slit allows me to just remove this foot easily so that I can put on my open toe foot. And now I can do my little large meander through my white area. And this is the gray flowers on the white. And every time I have this fabric on my quilt in the future, I'm going to do the large meandering around there. And one of the things to aspire to when you are doing one of the things to aspire to when you do like a meander quilting is usually to start and end in the same place. But for me, I want to meander and I'm going to go around and then I'm going to cut through my seam allowance and go to my other triangle because I only have 2 triangles that I'm doing this with. And I'm not trying to end up where I left off. So I'm going to just start here and then trying to be consistent with the distance that my little wiggles are. And come to a complete stop when you need to rearrange. And, I'm choosing to do this meander stitch, but you could actually choose to do embroidery in here, your quilting in the hoop, something like that. You could continue with the straight lines, but you do it however you want to do it. I just really enjoy making these little squiggles. Now I've gotten here to my travel spot. And because I can, I'm just going to pivot a little bit to get a better grip on things. Okay, here we go. Sorry about moving the camera there. Once again, stopping to get like my bearing and things like that.
Okay, well, this one wasn't so long, right? And, maybe this kind of empowers you to do some other kind of quilting in your hobby, like maybe not just for this Bloom and Grow quilt, right? And don't forget, for each lesson, after we make a pieced work and we work with the BERNINA Skill Hub videos, we are going to then be quilting it. And you can decide, like I said in the beginning of the video, to do all of your quilting at the very end in the traditional manner. So please don't feel like I'm forcing you to do some kind of new project that, you're not quite ready for yet. All right, so lesson 2 is in the books. And so now next month, we are going to be doing lesson 3. And lesson 3 is the improv embellished stitched block and the bow tie block. So we're going to be using the serger again next time. And we're following a little bit on Mary's instructions from the BERNINA Skill Hub. So until then, hey, listen, if you think you want to do this project, you better get a kit because we have a waiting list for it. We just have so much demand for this kit, we can barely keep up. We just had our second wave of them go up, but we promise you, we will fulfill this kit. We're doing our best. It's just, some of the supplies are coming from multiple different sources, and coordinating that, well, it's like herding cats. All right, until next time, I hope you enjoy our videos. I hope that you enjoy a lot more other kinds of videos that we do. And as always, you can hop right on over to YouTube and find them on our YouTube channel. It's easy. It's youtube.com/BERNINA of Naperville. And there you can like, comment, and subscribe. Happy serging.